Dr. Emily Carter sat at her desk in the dimly lit laboratory, staring at the glowing screen of her computer. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of machines and the occasional beat from a nearby DNA sequencer. She had spent weeks analyzing samples taken from an ancient fossil found in a remote cave in Africa. At first glance, it seemed like just another routine study, until she noticed something strange. The genetic sequence didn't look right. It wasn't random as it should have been. Instead, there were patterns, almost like codes or formulas, hidden within the strands of DNA. Emily leaned closer to the screen, her brow furrowed. She ran the analysis again, thinking it might be a glitch in the software. But no matter how many times she checked, the same result appeared. A series of repeating sequences that made no sense in biological terms. "Ryan," she called out, glancing over her shoulder toward her colleague's workstation across the room. Dr. Ryan Lewis looked up from his microscope, adjusting his glasses. He was older than Emily by about 10 years, with graying hair and a calm demeanor that often balanced out her restless curiosity. "What is it?" he asked, walking over to her desk. "Take a look at this." Emily pointed to the screen. "These sequences, they're not normal. They're unnatural." Ryan studied the data silently for a moment, then shrugged. "It's probably just noise. You know how these old samples can degrade over time." "But what if it's not?" Emily persisted. "What if someone put these patterns here on purpose? Look at the symmetry. It's too perfect to be random." Ryan frowned but said nothing. He trusted Emily's instincts. She had always been meticulous in her work. Still, the idea of intentional design in human DNA sounded far-fetched, even for someone with an open mind like him. Over the next few days, Emily became obsessed with the mystery. She stayed late in the lab, running simulations and cross-referencing the sequences with databases of known genetic markers. One evening, while sifting through obscure scientific papers online, she stumbled upon an article about mathematical patterns found in nature. The author suggested that certain numerical sequences could represent messages or instructions when interpreted correctly. Her heart raced as she compared the numbers from the article to the ones in the DNA sample. They matched. Not perfectly, but close enough to make her wonder if she was onto something extraordinary. Could this be evidence of intelligent design, not by nature, but by some unknown force? Just as she began drafting an email to share her findings with Ryan, the lab door burst open. Two men in dark suits entered without knocking. Their faces were stern, their movements deliberate. One of them held up a badge. "Dr. Carter," he said in a clipped tone, "we need to speak with you about your recent research." Emily froze, her fingers hovering above the keyboard. "Who are you?" she managed to ask, though her voice trembled slightly. "We're with the Global Science Consortium," the man replied. "Your work has caught our attention. We'll need all your data and your cooperation." Before Emily could respond, the second man stepped forward and unplugged her computer. Panic surged through her as she realized they weren't asking, they were taking. Whatever secret lay hidden in the ancient DNA, it was bigger than she'd imagined. And now, it seemed, others wanted it too. That night, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. After leaving the lab earlier than usual to avoid more questions from the men in suits, she decided to take her work home with her. She had backed up her research on a small encrypted hard drive, hoping it would keep her findings safe. But as she sat at her kitchen table, staring at the glowing screen of her laptop, unease crept over her like a shadow. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. The hum of the refrigerator and the occasional car passing outside did little to calm her nerves. Her mind kept replaying the visit from the two men. Who were they really? And why did they seem so desperate to get their hands on her data? Just as she was about to shut down her laptop for the night, there was a soft knock at the door. Emily froze. No one ever visited her this late. She glanced at the clock on the wall. It was nearly midnight. The knock came again, louder this time. "Dr. Carter," a voice called out softly. "It's important." Her heart pounded as she stood up, debating whether to answer. Finally, curiosity got the better of her. She peeked through the peephole and saw a man standing in the hallway. He looked ordinary enough, dark jacket, jeans, and short brown hair. But his piercing blue eyes caught her attention. There was something intense about him, something that made her hesitate. "I'm not opening the door unless you tell me who you are," she said firmly. "My name is Alex Grant," he replied, keeping his voice low. "I know what you've discovered, and I can help you understand it." Emily frowned. How could he possibly know? Still, something about his tone made her believe him, or at least want to hear him out. She unlocked the door but left the chain on, cracking it open just enough to see his face. "What do you want?" she asked. Alex glanced around the hallway before leaning closer. "Can we talk inside? It's not safe out here." Reluctantly, Emily closed the door, removed the chain, and let him in. Once inside, she crossed her arms and studied him carefully. "Start talking." Alex took a deep breath. "You found something unusual in that DNA sample, didn't you? Patterns that don't belong there. Those aren't random. They are deliberate. Someone put them there a long, long time ago." Emily's eyes widened. "How do you know that?" "Because I'm part of an organization called the Stellar Accord," he explained. "We've been searching for clues like this for centuries. What you've uncovered isn't just a scientific anomaly. It's a message. A message meant for us." "For us?" Emily repeated, skeptical. "Who exactly is us?" Alex hesitated, as if weighing how much to reveal. "Not just humans. Other civilizations, too. Advanced ones. They've been looking for answers to problems they can't solve on their own. Problems like dying stars and collapsing galaxies. Your discovery might hold the key to saving entire worlds." Emily shook her head, trying to process what he was saying. "This sounds insane. Are you telling me aliens are involved?" "Yes," Alex said simply. "But not all of them are friendly. Some will do anything to get their hands on what you found. That's why those men came to your lab tonight. They're not with the Global Science Consortium. They're imposters working for someone else." Before Emily could respond, there was a loud bang at the door. Both of them turned sharply toward the sound. Someone was trying to break in. "They're here," Alex said urgently. "We need to go. Now." Without waiting for her reply, he grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the fire escape window. Emily hesitated for only a second before following him. As they climbed down into the alley below, she heard the front door crash open behind them. Whoever these people were, they weren't going to stop until they got what they wanted. And now Emily realized neither would she. The cold night air hit Emily as she followed Alex through the narrow alleyway, her heart racing faster than her feet. Behind them, shouts echoed from her apartment building. The sound of heavy boots pounding down the stairs made it clear their pursuers weren't far behind. "Keep moving," Alex urged, glancing over his shoulder. His grip on her hand was firm but steady, guiding her through the maze of shadows and dumpsters. Emily stumbled once, her mind still struggling to catch up with what was happening. Just hours ago, she had been a scientist analyzing ancient DNA in a quiet lab. Now she was running for her life alongside a man who claimed aliens were after her research. They reached the end of the alley and slipped into a side street. Alex slowed down just enough to pull something small and metallic from his pocket, a keyed fob. He pressed a button, and a sleek black car parked nearby flashed its lights. "Get in," he said, opening the passenger door for her. Emily hesitated, unsure if trusting him was the right choice. But the thought of facing whoever was chasing them alone pushed her into the seat. Alex slid behind the wheel and started the engine, pulling away from the curb just as two figures emerged onto the street behind them. "Who are they?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. She turned to look out the rear window, watching the men scan the area before disappearing back into the shadows. "They work for someone who doesn't want you sharing what you found," Alex replied, keeping his eyes on the road. "If they catch us, they'll take your data and probably silence you permanently." Emily's stomach churned at the word silence. This wasn't supposed to happen. Her job was about discovery, not danger. Why would anyone go this far over some patterns in DNA? "It's not just patterns," Alex said, his tone serious. "It's knowledge. Knowledge powerful enough to change entire civilizations. Some will kill to control it. Others will die trying to protect it." As they sped through the deserted streets, Emily clutched the encrypted hard drive tightly in her lap. It felt heavier now, like it carried more weight than just her research. She glanced at Alex, studying his profile in the dim light of the dashboard. "You said you're part of an organization. What does that mean? Are you one of them?" Alex didn't answer right away. Instead, he took a sharp turn onto a highway leading out of the city. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer. "I used to work for a faction within the Stellar Accord. A dangerous one. They wanted to use discoveries like yours for profit, for power. I left when I realized how much harm they could cause." "So why should I trust you now?" Emily challenged, her fear giving way to frustration. "How do I know you're not just using me too?" Alex met her gaze briefly before focusing back on the road. "Because I'm risking everything to keep you safe. If I wanted your data, I could have taken it already. But I need you alive, not just for the information, but because you might be the only one who can figure out what it means." Emily didn't respond. She wanted to believe him, but doubt lingered in her mind. Still, there was no denying the sincerity in his voice, or the fact that he had saved her life tonight. After nearly an hour of driving, Alex pulled off the highway and onto a dirt road surrounded by barren desert. Up ahead, a massive rock formation loomed against the starry sky. As they approached, Alex pressed another button on his key fob, and a section of the rock slid open, revealing a hidden entrance. "This is where we'll be safe," he said, parking the car inside the cavernous space. Fluorescent lights flickered on, illuminating rows of advanced equipment and monitors lining the walls. Emily stepped out of the car, awestruck by the sight. "What is this place?" "A refuge," Alex replied simply. "For people like us. People who know the truth about the universe and are willing to fight for it." As he led her deeper into the underground facility, Emily couldn't help but wonder, what exactly had she gotten herself into? And more importantly, what did the secrets buried in her DNA mean for humanity and the rest of the galaxy? Inside the hidden refuge, Emily felt like she had stepped into another world. The underground facility was vast, filled with humming machines, glowing screens, and people moving about with purpose. It wasn't chaotic, but there was a sense of urgency in the air, as if everyone knew they were working against time. Alex guided her through the maze of rooms until they reached a large chamber where a woman stood examining holographic displays that floated above a circular table. She looked up as they entered, her sharp green eyes assessing Emily carefully. Her dark hair was tied back in a neat ponytail, and she wore a lab coat over casual clothes. "This is Dr. Samantha Ford," Alex introduced. "She's one of the best synoviologists in the Accord." Samantha nodded at Emily, her expression softening slightly. "You've uncovered something extraordinary, Dr. Carter. We've been waiting for someone like you." Emily frowned, unsure how to respond. "Waiting? What do you mean?" Samantha gestured for them to join her at the table. With a wave of her hand, the hologram shifted, displaying strands of DNA intertwined with complex mathematical equations. "What you found isn't just a random sequence. These patterns are part of a language, an ancient code left behind by a race we call the progenitors." "The progenitors?" Emily echoed, her voice tinged with disbelief. "They were an advanced civilization that existed long before humans," Samantha explained. "From what we've pieced together, they traveled across galaxies, seeding life on habitable planets. Humanity might have been one of their experiments, or perhaps something more." Emily stared at the holograms, her mind racing. "So you're saying aliens created us?" "Not exactly," Samantha replied. "They didn't create humans outright, but they may have altered our genetic makeup. The patterns in your DNA suggest they embedded information, messages or instructions, into our genes. Information meant to be discovered when we were ready." "And now we're ready?" Emily asked, still struggling to wrap her head around the idea. "We think so," Alex interjected. "The timing is too significant to ignore. Stars are dying at an alarming rate, and entire systems are collapsing. Whatever message the progenitors left behind could hold the key to stabilizing those stars and saving countless worlds." Samantha nodded. "That's why your discovery is so important. You've taken the first step toward decoding it. But we need to move quickly. If hostile factions get their hands on this knowledge, they'll use it for destruction, not salvation." Emily glanced between Alex and Samantha, feeling the weight of their expectations pressing down on her. "But I'm just a scientist. I don't know anything about alien civilizations or collapsing stars." "You're also the person who noticed the patterns no one else saw," Alex said firmly. "That makes you uniquely qualified. Besides, you won't be doing this alone." Samantha pulled up another set of holograms, showing images of strange symbols and diagrams. "We've been studying progenitor artifacts for decades, but nothing has been as clear as what you found. Your DNA analysis bridges gaps we didn't even realize existed." As Emily listened, she began to feel a flicker of excitement beneath her fear. For years, she had dedicated her life to uncovering truths about the past. Now it seemed those truths were far bigger and more consequential than she'd ever imagined. "There's more," Samantha added, pulling up a final image. It showed a schematic of some kind of device, intricate and otherworldly. "Based on the sequences in your DNA, we believe this is what the progenitors intended us to build. A machine capable of harnessing energy from parallel dimensions. They called it the Stellar Nexus." "The Stellar Nexus," Emily repeated, the words rolling off her tongue uncertainly. "If we can reconstruct it," Samantha continued, "we might be able to reverse the damage being done to the galaxy. But we'll need more pieces of the puzzle. Fragments of the design are scattered across the stars." Emily took a deep breath, realizing the enormity of what lay ahead. Decoding ancient DNA was one thing. Building a device to save the universe? That was something else entirely. Still, as she looked at the glowing holograms and the determined faces around her, she couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. Maybe humanity really was ready after all. The next few days passed in a blur for Emily as she worked alongside Alex, Samantha, and the rest of the team to decode more of the ancient DNA. The underground refuge buzzed with activity. Everyone focused on unraveling the secrets hidden within the genetic sequences. For Emily, it was both exhilarating and overwhelming. She had spent her career studying biology, but now she found herself learning about alien languages, interstellar physics, and technologies that seemed like science fiction. Samantha took the lead in translating the patterns into usable data. With each new discovery, the holographic displays updated, revealing fragments of the stellar Nexus blueprint. It was clear that the device wasn't just a machine. It was a masterpiece of engineering, designed to harness energy from dimensions beyond human comprehension. But even with the progress they were making, gaps remained. Key components of the design were missing, scattered across distant planets and forgotten ruins. "We need to go out there," Alex said during one of their strategy meetings. He pointed to a star map projected onto the wall. "The first piece we're looking for is here, an old progenitor outpost orbiting a gas giant near the edge of this system." Emily frowned, staring at the glowing dot on the map. "How do we even know it's still there, or that it hasn't been destroyed?" "It's risky," Samantha admitted. "But the Accord has records suggesting the outpost might hold critical information, or maybe even physical parts of the Nexus. We can't afford to ignore it." Commander Jake Monroe, a tall man with graying temples and a calm demeanor, stepped forward. He had been quietly observing the discussion until now. "I'll take you there," he said. "My ship is fast and equipped with cloaking technology. If anyone can get us in and out without being detected, it's me." Emily hesitated, glancing at Alex. "Are you sure this is safe? What if those people chasing us find out where we're going?" "They already suspect something," Alex replied. "But they don't know exactly what we're after or where we're headed. As long as we stay ahead of them, we have a chance." Despite her fears, Emily nodded. She knew staying behind wasn't an option. This was her discovery, her responsibility. If she wanted answers, she would have to face whatever dangers lay ahead. The journey began 2 days later. Commander Monroe's ship, sleek and silver, was unlike anything Emily had ever seen. Its interior was compact yet advanced, filled with controls and screens that glowed softly in the dim light. As they launched into space, Emily felt a mix of awe and anxiety. She had always dreamed of traveling among the stars, but never under these circumstances. Alex noticed her quiet tension and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're doing great," he said. "Just focus on the mission. We'll figure this out together." For hours, they traveled in silence, the vastness of space stretching endlessly outside the windows. Emily spent most of the time reviewing the DNA sequences, searching for any clues that might help them at the outpost. Samantha joined her occasionally, offering insights into progenitor technology. Slowly, Emily began to feel more confident, not because she understood everything, but because she trusted the people around her. When they finally arrived at the gas giant, its swirling orange and white clouds filled the viewport, breathtaking and intimidating. Orbiting the planet was the derelict outpost, a jagged structure covered in dust and debris, drifting silently through the void. "This is it," Commander Monroe announced. "Let's move quickly." As they prepared to board the outpost, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. Somewhere out there, others were watching and waiting. The team approached the derelict progenitor outpost with caution. Commander Monroe piloted a smaller shuttle away from the main ship, navigating through clouds of debris that floated around the crumbling structure. Emily stared out the window, her heart pounding as she took in the sight of the ancient station. It looked like something out of a dream or a nightmare. Jagged metal spires jutted out at odd angles, and parts of it were scorched or broken, as if it had survived some kind of catastrophe. "This place gives me the creeps," Jake muttered, his hands steady on the controls. "Looks like no one's touched it in centuries." "Good," Alex said. "That means whatever we're looking for might still be intact." As they docked, The team suited up in protective gear designed to shield them from potential hazards. Samantha carried a handheld scanner, its screen glowing faintly as it analyzed the environment. Emily clutched a small tablet containing the DNA sequences they had decoded so far, hoping it would help them identify anything useful. The airlock hissed open, revealing a dark, cavernous interior. Dust swirled in the dim light cast by their helmet lamps. The walls were lined with strange symbols etched into the metal, glowing faintly in response to their presence. Emily felt a shiver run down her spine as she stepped inside. This wasn't just an old ruin. It felt alive, watching them. "This way," Samantha said, pointing toward a corridor where the scanner readings were strongest. They moved carefully, the silence broken only by the sound of their boots crunching on the dusty floor. Every step felt heavier than the last, as though the weight of history itself was pressing down on them. After several minutes, they reached a large chamber filled with alien machinery. In the center stood a pedestal topped with a crystalline object pulsating with soft blue light. Samantha approached cautiously, examining it with her scanner. "This could be part of the Nexus," she said excitedly. "It matches the energy signature we've been tracking." Before anyone could react, alarms blared throughout the outpost. Red lights flashed and metallic clangs echoed from deeper within the structure. "We're not alone," Alex warned, gripping his weapon tightly. From the shadows emerged figures clad in sleek black armor, their faces obscured by helmets. They moved silently but deliberately, surrounding the group. One of them stepped forward, raising a hand to signal the others to hold their positions. "You shouldn't have come here," the leader said in a cold, mechanical voice. His accent was unfamiliar, but his words were clear enough. Alex stepped protectively in front of Emily. "We don't want trouble. We're just here to retrieve what belongs to all of us." The armored figure tilted his head slightly, as if considering this. Then he raised his weapon, aiming it directly at Alex. "You misunderstand. What you seek belongs to *us* now." Tension crackled in the air as both sides faced off. Emily's mind raced. These weren't ordinary thieves. They were organized, disciplined, and clearly prepared for conflict. Whoever they were, they knew about this stellar nexus too. Commander Monroe broke the stalemate. "Fall back," he shouted, grabbing Emily's arm and pulling her toward the exit. Alex and Samantha followed closely, firing short bursts from their weapons to cover their retreat. The attackers returned fire, forcing them to duck behind fallen debris. "We need to get out of here," Alex yelled over the chaos. "Now." Samantha hesitated, glancing back at the crystalline object on the pedestal. "But there's no time." Alex snapped. "We'll find another way." Reluctantly, Samantha turned and ran with the rest of the group. Behind them, the armored figures gave chase, their movements swift and relentless. As they reached the shuttle bay, Emily stumbled, nearly dropping her tablet. Alex caught her arm, steadying her before pushing her ahead. "Keep moving," he urged. They barely made it onto the shuttle before the attackers closed in. Commander Monroe fired up the engines and launched them into space, leaving the outpost and their pursuers behind. For a moment, everyone sat in stunned silence, catching their breath. "That was too close," Jake finally said, breaking the quiet. "Who were those people?" "I don't know," Alex replied grimly. "But they're not giving up any time soon." Emily looked down at her tablet, the glow of the screen reflecting in her eyes. She realized the stakes had just gotten higher. Whatever secrets lay hidden in the DNA, someone else was willing to kill for them. And they wouldn't stop until they got what they wanted. Back aboard Commander Monroe's ship, the team gathered in the main cabin to regroup. The adrenaline from their narrow escape was wearing off, leaving behind a mix of frustration and unease. Emily sat quietly, clutching her tablet tightly as if it were a lifeline. She couldn't stop thinking about the crystalline object they had left behind. What if it was the key to everything? "We can't let them win," Samantha said finally, breaking the silence. Her voice was sharp with determination. That outpost held answers we desperately need. Alex leaned against the wall, his arms crossed. He looked troubled, almost guilty. "I know who those people are," he admitted after a long pause. All eyes turned to him. "Who?" Emily asked, her tone sharper than she intended. "They're part of the Accord's rogue faction, the same group I used to work for," Alex replied, avoiding their gazes. "They call themselves the Dominion. They don't care about saving galaxies or protecting civilizations. All they want is power, and the Nexus would give them more than enough." The room fell silent. Emily felt a surge of anger, but also confusion. How could Alex have kept this from them? "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" she demanded. "I wanted to leave that life behind," Alex said, his voice low. "But I should have known they'd find me eventually. They always do." Samantha sighed, rubbing her temples. "This changes things. If the Dominion knows what we're after, they'll be one step ahead every time." Commander Monroe spoke up, his calm demeanor helping ease some of the tension. "We can't afford to let guilt slow us down now. We still have Emily's DNA data. That gives us an edge they don't have." Emily nodded slowly, trying to push aside her doubts. "There has to be another way," she said, "something they don't know about yet." Samantha brightened slightly. "Actually, there might be." She pulled up a holographic map on one of the screens, highlighting several points scattered across the galaxy. "These are other progenitor sites mentioned in Accord records. Some are ruins, others are unexplored. If we act fast, we might beat the Dominion to one of them. But how do we choose where to go next?" Jake asked. "Every site is a risk." Emily hesitated before speaking. "What if we use the DNA sequences to guide us? The patterns might match specific locations. It's like following breadcrumbs." Samantha smiled faintly. "That's not a bad idea. Let's run the data through the system and see what comes up." As Samantha worked on analyzing the sequences, Alex approached Emily. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you about my past," he said softly. "You deserved to know." Emily looked at him, her expression softening despite her lingering frustration. "Just don't keep secrets from us again. We're in this together." He nodded, relief washing over his face. Together. After hours of cross-referencing the DNA patterns with the map, Samantha found a potential lead. A set of coordinates matched perfectly with one of the listed progenitor sites, a remote planet covered in dense jungles and ancient temples. "This could be it," she said excitedly. If anything survived there, it might hold another piece of the Nexus puzzle. Commander Monroe plotted the course, and the ship jumped into hyperspace. As they traveled, Emily spent most of her time reviewing the data, searching for any hidden details. She couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The Dominion wasn't going to wait patiently. They would strike again soon. When they arrived at the jungle planet, the air was thick with humidity, and towering trees blocked out much of the sunlight. The team ventured cautiously into the undergrowth, guided by Samantha's scanner. After hours of searching, they stumbled upon a massive stone temple half buried in vines and moss. "This is it," Samantha whispered, her voice filled with awe. Carved into the entrance were symbols identical to those etched into the walls of the derelict outpost. Inside, they discovered a chamber containing a second crystalline object, glowing faintly with green light. As Samantha carefully removed it from its pedestal, Emily felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they weren't too late after all. But outside, the sound of engines broke the quiet. The Dominion had followed them. The sound of engines grew louder, echoing through the dense jungle like a predator closing in. Emily's heart sank as she realized what it meant. The Dominion had found them again. Alex immediately sprang into action, motioning for everyone to take cover near the temple entrance. Samantha clutched the newly retrieved crystalline object tightly, her face pale but resolute. "We need to move," Alex said urgently. "They'll be here any second." Commander Monroe scanned the skies through the thick canopy of trees. "Their ships are faster than ours. If we don't get back soon, they'll cut us off." Samantha glanced at the glowing crystal in her hands. "We can't leave this behind. It's too important." "I know," Alex replied, his jaw tightening. "But we're outnumbered and outgunned. We'll have to fight smart, not hard." The team quickly devised a plan. They would split up temporarily. Jake and Samantha would head straight for the ship while Alex and Emily created a diversion to buy them time. It was risky, but there were no other options. "Stay close to me," Alex told Emily as they moved deeper into the jungle, away from the temple. He activated a small device on his wrist, emitting a high-pitched signal designed to mimic alien technology. The noise carried far enough to draw attention, and within moments, the roar of engines shifted direction toward them. "They're following us," Emily whispered, glancing over her shoulder. Her legs burned as she ran, dodging roots and vines that threatened to trip her. She could hear shouts in the distance. The Dominion soldiers were closing in. Alex led her to a narrow ravine with steep walls covered in moss. "Here," he said, pulling her down behind a cluster of rocks. "Wait until they pass, then double back toward the ship." Emily nodded, though her chest tightened with fear. She watched as several armored figures rushed past their hiding spot, weapons drawn. For a moment, everything went quiet. "Now," Alex whispered, gesturing for her to follow him. They moved quickly but carefully, retracing their steps toward the clearing where the ship was parked. As they approached, Emily spotted Jake and Samantha already aboard, preparing for takeoff. "Hurry," Jake called out, his voice tense. Just as Alex and Emily reached the ramp, a burst of energy shot past them, narrowly missing Emily. She stumbled, nearly dropping her tablet, but Alex grabbed her arm and pulled her inside. The ramp closed behind them, and the ship lifted off just as the Dominion forces arrived on foot. "They're firing on us," Jake shouted from the cockpit. The ship shuddered as enemy glass struck its shields. "Activate the cloak," Alex yelled. Jake flipped a switch, and the ship shimmered before disappearing entirely from view. Below, the Dominion soldiers fired blindly into the air, frustrated by their sudden invisibility. As they soared higher into the atmosphere, Emily collapsed into a seat, her hands trembling. She looked at the crystalline object, now secured in Samantha's grasp. "Do you think it's worth all this?" she asked quietly. Samantha smiled faintly. "Every piece brings us closer to finishing the Nexus. And every step we take makes humanity's voice stronger in the galaxy." Alex sat nearby, his expression grim but determined. "We're running out of time. The Dominion won't stop until they have everything, or until we stop them first." Back in space, the team reviewed the new crystal's properties. Its glow pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat, and when placed near Emily's tablet, it synced with the DNA sequences. Lines of code scrolled across the screen, revealing fragments of instructions neither human nor alien. "This is it," Samantha said, excitement creeping into her voice. "We're piecing together the final design. But there's one last component missing. It's somewhere on Earth." "Earth?" Emily repeated, stunned. "How is that possible?" The progenitors must have hidden it there intentionally, Alex explained. It's the perfect place, right under everyone's noses. Jake set a course for home, but tension lingered in the air. The Dominion knew where they were headed now. Returning to Earth wouldn't just be a race against time. It would be a battle for survival. The journey back to Earth felt longer than ever. Emily sat in the cramped cabin of the ship, staring at the glowing crystal and the tablet displaying the DNA sequences. Her mind raced with questions. Why had the progenitors left the final piece of the nexus on Earth? What made their planet so special? And how were they supposed to find it without drawing even more attention from the Dominion? Alex noticed her unease and sat beside her. "You're thinking too much," he said gently. "We'll figure it out when we get there." Emily forced a small smile. It's hard not to think about it. Every time we make progress, someone tries to stop us. What if we're walking into another trap? "We've been through worse," Alex replied. "And we're still here. That has to count for something." When they entered Earth's atmosphere, the team decided to split up again to cover more ground. The DNA sequences pointed to an area near the pyramids of Egypt, where ancient ruins often held secrets buried beneath the sands. Samantha stayed behind to analyze the data further, while Jake, Alex, and Emily headed to the site. Upon arriving, they met Aund Khalil, a local archaeologist who had spent years studying the region. With his help, they began searching for anything unusual, a hidden chamber, a strange artifact, or even markings that matched the progenitor symbols. "This place is full of mysteries," Aund explained as they walked through the desert. "People have been digging here for centuries, but no one knows what lies below." Emily carried a portable scanner linked to her tablet, hoping it would detect anomalies. As they explored, the device started beeping faintly. "There's something here," she said, pointing to a patch of sand near the base of a crumbling stone structure. The group worked quickly to clear away the dirt and debris. Beneath the surface, they uncovered a heavy stone door carved with intricate patterns. It was unmistakably progenitor work. "This is it," Alex whispered, his voice filled with awe. Using tools provided by Ahmed, they managed to pry the door open, revealing a dark passageway leading underground. Inside, the air was cool and damp, and faint light emanated from glowing crystals embedded in the walls. At the end of the corridor stood a pedestal holding the final component, a golden orb pulsating with energy. "We did it," Emily breathed, stepping forward. But before she could reach the orb, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Red lights flashed, illuminating the room. "They found us," Jake said grimly, pulling out his weapon. Moments later, the Dominion arrived, storming into the chamber with weapons drawn. Their leader stepped forward, his cold eyes locking onto the golden orb. "Hand it over," he commanded. "You can't win this fight." Alex moved protectively in front of Emily. "If you take it, you'll destroy everything. Is that what you want?" The leader smirked. "We don't care about your noble goals. Power is all that matters." Tension crackled in the air as both sides prepared for a confrontation. Emily glanced at the orb, then at her tablet. An idea formed in her mind, one desperate gamble to turn the tide. "I know how to activate it," she said loudly, her voice steady despite her fear. All eyes turned to her. "But if I do, it'll overload unless it's connected to the other pieces. You won't be able to use it without them." The leader hesitated, clearly unsure whether to believe her. In that moment of distraction, Alex fired a shot, disabling one of the Dominion's weapons. Chaos erupted as Jake joined the fight, taking down 2 more soldiers. Seizing the opportunity, Emily grabbed the orb and ran toward the exit. Alex covered her retreat, shouting for her to keep moving. Outside, Amd waited with a vehicle, ready to drive them to safety. As they sped away, Emily clutched the orb tightly, her heart pounding. They had what they needed, but the Dominion wasn't far behind. The final piece of the puzzle was theirs, but the hardest part was yet to come. Back at the hidden refuge, the team worked tirelessly to assemble the stellar nexus. The golden orb fit perfectly into the center of the device, completing its intricate design. Samantha and Emily carefully connected the crystalline components they had retrieved from the progenitor sites, each piece humming with energy as it locked into place. The room buzzed with anticipation, but also tension. Everyone knew what was at stake. "This is it," Samantha said, her voice trembling slightly. "Once we activate it, there's no turning back." Emily nodded, her hand steady despite the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. She had spent weeks decoding the DNA sequences, piecing together fragments of an ancient message meant for humanity. And now she was about to see if it would work. "Let's do it," she said firmly. Alex stood nearby, watching silently. He trusted Emily completely, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something could still go wrong. The Dominion wasn't far behind. They had tracked the team across galaxies and wouldn't stop until they claimed the Nexus for themselves. As Samantha initiated the activation sequence, the device came alive, glowing brighter with every passing second. Streams of light pulsed through its core, forming patterns that mirrored the ones in Emily's DNA data. A low hum filled the chamber, growing louder and more resonant. Suddenly, the ground shook, and alarms blared outside the refuge. "They're here," Jake shouted, rushing to defend the entrance. Alex joined him, leaving Emily and Samantha to focus on the Nexus. "We need more time," Samantha yelled over the noise. "You've got this," Alex called back before disappearing down the corridor. Outside, the Dominion launched a full-scale assault. Their ships hovered above the desert, firing at the hidden facility while soldiers breached the underground structure. Jake and Alex fought valiantly, holding off wave after wave of attackers, but the odds were against them. Inside, Emily ignored the chaos around her, focusing entirely on the Nexus. The device required one final input, a sequence based on the DNA code she had discovered. Her fingers flew across the tablet, entering commands as quickly as she could. The Nexus responded, its glow intensifying until it became almost blinding. Then, without warning, the entire facility was engulfed in a burst of radiant energy. For a moment, everything went silent. When the light faded, Emily opened her eyes to find the room intact, but transformed. The air felt lighter, charged with an unfamiliar kind of power. "It worked," Samantha whispered, tears streaming down her face. The Nexus stabilized itself, and it's already affecting the surrounding systems. Above ground, the Dominion forces faltered. Their weapons failed, their ships sputtered, and their leaders looked on in disbelief as the technology they had sought so desperately slipped beyond their grasp. The Nexus wasn't meant to be controlled, it was meant to heal. In the days that followed, news spread across the galaxy. Stars that had been dimming began to shine brighter. Planets on the brink of collapse started recovering. Civilizations once teetering on extinction found new hope. And Earth, long overlooked by interstellar powers, emerged as a beacon of unity and resilience. Emily stood outside the refuge, gazing up at the night sky. She felt small yet significant, knowing she had played a part in something greater than herself. Alex joined her, his expression thoughtful. "You did it," he said simply. "No," Emily replied, shaking her head. "We all did. Humanity has always been capable of amazing things. We just needed a reminder." From that day forward, Earth became a central hub for galactic cooperation. The Stellar Accord recognized humanity's potential, offering protection and partnership in exchange for sharing the knowledge embedded in their DNA. Emily continued her work, not just as a scientist, but as a bridge between worlds. And though challenges remained, one truth stood clear. Humanity's destiny was no longer bound by the limits of its past. It belonged to the stars and to the infinite possibilities waiting among them.